All glory to the assembled devotees. All glory to the assembled devotees. All glory to the assembled devotees. All glory to the Guru and Narayana Krishna Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiri. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is a very recent purpose, we should offer our respectful obeisances unto Lord Narayan, the supreme personality of Godhead, and to Narayan Rishi, the supreme human being, and to Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and to Srila Vyasadeva the author, and then to Prabhupada, the translator, commentator, and our spiritual. And before we say the next verse, I took that off. Nashtapai Shabbatreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavata Shloke. The regular attendance classes on Srimad Bhagavatam, by rendering devotional service to the pure devotee, all that is inauspicious within the heart is destroyed almost to nil, and loving devotion to the Supreme Lord who is glorified in transcendental song is established as an irrevocable fact. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 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 On the 16th day of November 2019 in Phoenix, Arizona, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. We are in the fourth canto, chapter 20, Pitu Maharaj milks the earth mother. Text number 1. Anye chamahino mayam. Anye chamahino mayam. Antardana dutatmanam. Antardana dutatmanam. Mayam patokya vaksante. Mayam patokya vaksante. Duduhu dhananamayim. Duduhu dhananamayim. Anye chamahino mayam. Anye chamahino mayam. Antardana dutatmanam. Mayam patokya vaksante. Duduhu dhananamayim. Duduhu dhananamayam. Anye chamahino mayam. Anye chamahino mayam. Antardana dutatmanam. Antardana dutatmanam. Mayam patokya vaksante. Mayam patokya vaksante. Duduhu dhananamayim. Anye chamahino mayam. Antardana dutatmanam. Mayam patokya vaksante. Duduhu dhananamayim. Anye chamahino mayam. Antardana dutatmanam. Mayam patokya vaksante. Duduhu dhananamayim. Anye chamahino mayam. Antardana dutatmanam. Mayam patokya vaksante. Duduhu dhananamayim. Anye chamahino mayam. Antardana dutatmanam. Ayam Sakalya Vatsante Suduhu Dhanamahi. Anye, others, Cha, also, Mayinaha, mystic magicians, Mayam, mystic powers, Antardhana, disappearing, Adbhuta, wonderful, Atmanam, of the body, Mayam, Maya, Prakalpya, making, Vatsam, the cat, Te, they, Do, Do, hooked out, Dharanamahi, proceeding from will. Translation. Others also, the inhabitants of planets known as Kim Purusha Loka, made the demon Maya into a cat, and they milked out mystic powers by which one can disappear immediately from another's vision and appear again in a different form. The fourth. It is said that the inhabitants of Kim Purusha Loka can perform many wonderful mystic demonstrations. In other words, they can exhibit as many wonderful things as one can imagine. The inhabitants of this planet can do whatever they like or whatever they imagine. Such powers are also mystic powers. The possession of such mystic power is called Ishika. The demons generally learn such mystic powers by the practice of yoga. In the Dashama Skanda, the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, there is a vivid description of how the demons appear before Krishna in various wonderful forms. For instance, Bakasura appeared before Krishna and his coward friends as a gigantic crane. While present on this planet, Lord Krishna had to fight with many demons who could exhibit the wonderful mystic powers of Kimpurusha Loka. Although the inhabitants of Kimpurusha Loka are naturally endowed with such powers, one can attain these powers on this planet by performing different yogic practices. Om Jnana Sivarandasya Jnanandana Salakaya Chakshu Unyudatam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, but my spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, opened my eyes to the first light of knowledge. They often humble basis unto him and all members for them. So we got back a little bit late last night. I didn't get my usual sleep. There was something that doesn't make sense. Forgive me. So we continue with Pita Maharaj's program of regenerating products of the earth, and you can see that there are all kinds of beings, including the demons got there. Remember what they got? Wine and beer from making palad into a cap and opening their beer into an iron pot. And the Jataras got their ability to fly in the sky, and the others got the ability to sing, upstairs to dance. And now these inhabitants of Kimpurusha Loka. Now what does Kimpurusha mean? Are they human? Is it a human being? In other words, human beings, but they're not exactly humans. So it's Kimpurusha Loka. The demon Maya is famous for building the sabha for the Pandavas because Arjuna saved Maya from getting burned up in the fire when Arjuna was devouring the forest. Arjuna went out to hunt. And so that was his reciprocation. He was grateful, and so he built that special sabha in the Prastha. Remember, it was very tricky because these demons, they like these mystic powers. So you go into that sabha, and it looks like there's a solid ground there, but it's water. So it looks like it's solid ground. So who got bewildered by that? Remember? Duryodhana. And Krishna was there with all his queens. They started laughing, and Yudhishthira didn't want to, aggravate him to both Duryodhana unnecessarily, but Krishna, he's laughing, because he wanted him to get provoked. And it said there in the Krishna book that kind of the enmity, which was already there, was screwed up to the highest point. Krishna wanted the battle to take place. So now here we learn that this, what we has come to be known, that movie came out and shape shifting. We learned about that as soon as you read Krishna books. All these demons, they took special forms that they thought would be more efficient or more likely to annihilate Krishna. So from the very beginning, even Putana displayed this. Remember when she turned herself into this very beautiful woman? Why? So she could walk right into this little baby area without the ladies getting upset. Because the tremendous beauty like that is very disarming and attractive. So she's a witch. She's a horrible witch who flies in the sky, and her usual practice, as she tried to practice on Krishna, was killing babies, sucking their blood. I always think she's the worst, the worst of those kill children like that. But she disguised herself as a very gorgeous, like a goddess of fortune, and she comes in to this shady area. But she wasn't counting on Krishna being the greatest mystic, who even though he was also disguising himself as a little baby, he was all powerful. You know the story. He was killed. And these other demons are like that also. The next one was Trinavarta. Right? Trinavarta, he disguised himself as a tornado. Baba calls a whirlwind, which is accurate. But whirlwinds often mean little, you may see them in the desert sometimes, they just blow up. A powerful tornado come and created havoc in Vrindavan, took Krishna up into the air. Now Krishna knew this was coming, so he made himself very heavy, so that Mother Yashoda couldn't carry him. Remember that? So she said, how is his heaviness? We didn't know what to do, so she put him down in the courtyard and went about her business. And this Trinavarta came. And then Krishna, he was as light as a feather, so he lifted him up into the air. But when he was up high in the air, grabbed onto his neck, and it was heavy as iron, solid iron block. And so Trinavarta could hang on and choke and fell down dead to the ground. Then the next one was the cart demon. Remember the cart demon? He turned himself into a cart, a very heavy cart, and he was the cart that was on top of, not on top of Krishna, but under the cart. Krishna was lying in a little cradle, and he thought, oh, this is special, So Krishna kicked that demon. The cart was all discombobulated, and the demon died, and Krishna was left unharmed. And this goes on and on throughout the Vrindavan Leela. You get a Dasara, snakes that was 8 miles long, and he swallowed everyone, even swallowed, they died in there. And so Krishna had to enter in to the mouth of the Dasara, and all the demigods were lamenting and concept where he was rejoicing on that that he abandoned himself. So Krishna is the Yogeshwareshwara. He's the master of all mystic powers and all yogis. And his ability to change shape or to display mystic powers is supreme. He's always all powerful. But still, there's this desire, just like today, I was thinking how this, they can exhibit many wonderful things as one can imagine. Now, the modern technology tries to also imitate these mystic powers. Prabhupada pointed out that this idea of entering into into matter, the subways, we experienced the subways in New York, where they're able to go underground, the flying in the sky, it's crude, but they're still able to do it with all of the technology, flying airplanes. They're able to look and manipulate the finer molecules in atoms and create new chemicals and drugs and pesticides and everything like that. So the scientists are also striving for these kind of powers. And this idea just came to my mind as I was reading this. Whatever they can imagine, they can do whatever they like, whatever they can imagine. Well, they haven't perfected that power, but this imagining, is there in like movies and in video games, where you become someone else in those video games. I was explaining this, I don't know if I did it here, how enthralling these are. This is a bigger business now than movies, film, video games. They have tournaments, and you can play with guys all around the world. Mostly it's guys, but with ladies it's a little bit different. Because it's a very, suddenly you don't have to be your own pathetic self, but you can be someone else. whatever you can imagine, right? The creators, they imagine this whole world that you can enter into, and then you can take on different identities. So this mystic power is trying to imitate in this modern era with electronics, very much so. But you can see the result. The result is that people become they become disenchanted with their own ordinary lives. In other words, they're bored most of the time, and so they need some drugs and other things. That was one of the appeals of LSD, is that you enter into another world. You know, nothing is as it seems. You see all of these wonderful. So this um, impulse of the living entity to transcend the ordinary, to get out of the ordinary and experience peak experience or something wonderful, which is what moves the whole entertainment industry and all of this stuff, is a reflection of the fact that we have separated ourselves from the spiritual world, which is filled with all kinds of wonderful sort of things and enlivening activities. We're alienated from that. That's our natural tendency. But we're stuck with this dull material world, which is really dead, and it's only enlivened by the living entities in it. Just like this body. The body, we're more brilliant than 1,000 suns, but here we are in this body. It's all covered, and we're all very limited in our powers. And gradually, over time, they wane, or suddenly we get paralyzed. You know? So this is very distressing and discouraging for the living entity, every living entity. We're completely covered and restricted in our actual powers that we have. So in various states, these Kimpurushas, they're not actually human beings. Those who develop mystic powers, those who go to higher planets, they live through a much longer time. But it's not the same thing as the spiritual world. It's just another pale reflection. And so we can never really be satisfied because time is here. We're tied up with matter, and matter has a beginning, a middle, and an end. Anything material comes into being, and it stays for some time, and eventually it's destroyed. Now, when you get to living beings, who are like what we used to call organisms, the organism is nothing but a combination of living entity with some kind of a body. There's so many species, 400,000 species. So we go through life as human beings, and of course we have the higher intelligence. So we can imagine more, we can visualize more, we can create wonderful things. But whatever we create is still bound by the material energy. It's bound by time, and gradually it's all destroyed. Just like this world, in any given age, there are always people who are more intelligent and more in the mode of goodness, and can use their intelligence to understand more of the material energy. And there are those who are just dull, sutras, or lower, and they're the majority. And they just basically live, for the ordinary things, eating, sleeping, bathing, depending. If they have it together, in that regard, then they feel their life is successful. So those who are a little intelligent in the modern world are seeing that the modern society, with its highly developed technology, which means exploiting nature even more extremely, is heading toward a cliff, toward disaster. Now our literatures, our Shastra, predict that the Kali Yuga is scheduled to go on another 427,000 years. And then whenever I think about it, how is that possible? It just seems like, the apocalypse is coming, what we call the annihilation, being imminent, practically. But human beings are capable of becoming so covered by the modes of nature that even though they're doing things that are for their own destruction, what to speak of their children's and fathers' generations, they continue to do it because they're impelled by the force of the modes of nature, by karma and quota and all of this. And it doesn't matter how so-called intelligent you are, you can still enter into that. Just like, you may not know this, but this whole climate change thing, this was understood by the scientists who work for Exxon, one of the biggest companies in the world, multi-billion dollar fossil fuel, oil. They developed the early 20th century, the Rockefeller. So their scientists, these are scientists who tell them how they can maximize their profit by using a certain way of extracting the fuel. saying, this carbon dioxide, all burning all of this gasoline and everything, is increasing the carbon dioxide in the air, and that's going to change the climate. It's going to overheat the climate, so it's disastrous for the whole world. They could see that. So what was the response of the people who control Exxon, the CEOs and all the money guys? Okay, then if people understand that, they're going to try to get to some other means of energy, and our profit will go down. Our stock will go down. My stock will go down because the CEOs, they own most of the stock. So their response was, this is like in the early 80s. They came up with, that's 35, 36, almost 40 years ago. Well, we have to have a campaign to cast doubt, so this is going to come out. So they hired their own scientists. They paid them to write papers. In other words, even though scientists have to be intelligent, they can be as unscrupulous as anybody else. Oh, I can become a multimillionaire. I'm not a multimillionaire now. I only get $200,000 a year, but I can get $10 million. Yes, I'll write whatever paper you want. They find these guys to do that, demonic things. And they confuse the issue for so long. Who even heard about this in the 80s? I think it was the late 80s and when scientists went to the Congress and made it. But they didn't do anything about it. So this is a perfect example of what you read in the Shastra, is that the lust and the greed, especially the greed in the case of these big CEOs companies, they only know one thing: maximizing profit, even if it's destroying the world. And that's happening today. It's very clear. I mean, they have these agreements, but there's no teeth in them. And each of the nations who are exploiting the world and burning all these fossil fuels, they think, all right, we'll have this agreement, but we'll continue to burn, and the others will burn less, and therefore we'll also benefit from less CO2 in the air, but we won't have to pay. You know what I mean? In other words, who can cheat the other one the best? And the whole world gets cheated. And then you have this youth movement, young people growing up today who are also aware, and they're saying, what are you doing? You're destroying our future. We have to live on this earth, and you're making it unlivable. So you have this one girl from Sweden, who's able to articulate, become world famous. But then you have the adults, they're destroying the future of their own children and grandchildren. You see how covered this is. So this is what Kali Yuga has come to, even after 5,000 years. So where do we fit in? Now, our personal response to the crisis is chant Hare Krishna. Practically, whatever the question is, the answer is chant Hare Krishna. Whatever the problem is, Hare Krishna. Because yes, the disaster may come. Our own personal apocalypse is sure to come. We can call it that. Apocalypse means vast destruction. But in our own life, when we come to that point where we get the dreaded diagnosis from the doctor, or something sudden happens, in some way or other, death is we're confronting it. Then who cares about climate change? We have to deal with our own destiny. So certainly, whatever we practice in Krishna consciousness, that's what counts at that point. So the wise devotee who is thoughtful and Dhira, who plan for that point now and try to become fully Krishna conscious. Otherwise, we're also falling into that modes of nature of not taking the reality of our own imminent destruction seriously. We're thinking, oh, I have so much time. But when you get older, you realize, oh, I don't have so much time. But still, the modes can still control you no matter what age you're at. Putting off the urgency of, casting out those obstacles that was allowed to slow our progress and really become serious Krishna conscious. Praying at every moment. Who knows, that may be our last. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Right? So, similarly, socially, tonight we have a theme, a simple living, I think. Right? So I was thinking about that. That's a kind of an English version of Vairagya Vidya. Think about it. Vairagya Vidya. Baba, he had a wonderful essay in Bengali on that, and there's a book put together of those Bengali essays translated by Bhakti Swami. No, actually by his friend Sava Bhavana, and edited by Bhakti. from the Bengali essays he was writing for one of those papers, I think the first year, one of and they were compiled, and Prabhupada was very happy to hear that project, and he approved of it. He published it as Renunciation through Wisdom. Not the most attractive title in the world, so it never caught on. You know. But that's really what we're all about. Vairagya Vidya, meaning that we're trying to cultivate detachment from this world through the cultivation of knowledge of Krishna and experience of Krishna. Not only Jnana, but Vidyan also. So that simple living and high thinking is the answer, is the social answer for this climate change. The root is this exaggerated artificial society built up with technology at the base of it. Because this manipulation of the world and the energy with the computers and the planes and all of the other stuff leads people to think we don't need God. We don't need all of this belief. That's a primitive belief of those who didn't have these wonderful machines that we have. But those wonderful machines are just like the pleasure that you get from sense gratification is your worst enemy. So these phones, you know, that people have, they're living on these phones. This is alienating them from themselves. There's an increase in depression. There's an increase in confusion and what they call deaths of despair because of the economy and so many things. These poor kids, you know, they've done an experiment. We'll give you $200 if you don't touch your phone for one day. These are like college freshmen, ladies. $200. All right, I'll try it. You know. After 12 hours, they're sweating, they're great anxiety. There's something called FOMO. You probably know what FOMO is. Like fear of missing out. What are they saying about me? What are they saying about me? I'm missing out on, somebody else being insulted that I hate, whatever. Their whole life is on the phone. So that's a distorted mentality to be dependent on connecting with the whole world like it's completely artificial. So devotees can see that, but people can't give it up. Once you get addicted to that, if you plug in, it's very entangling. So this is what we're reading about, and it's obviously not everything that all the necessities that are coming out are what we call good. You've got demons getting their beer and wine. You've got the Maya, the demon Maya. He was the calf, and all of these mystic powers of the conversions, which can be used, as we see in Krishna Lila, for good or ill, are being attained. And the reason why I went into this whole idea of the high technology, because it's when you work very hard as a yogi and you develop some mystic power, it's the same kind of emotion, the same kind of involvement as when you work very hard as a scientist and develop some new way of manipulating the energy or some new thing. It's a power you didn't have before, a power that you can use to make money or control others or experience something in it. And that's a big element of Maya in the sense of you lose the energy. It tricks you into thinking that you can control the material energy and benefit, and actually you become more and more entangled in the complexity of the address. So what is our response to that? Well, right in the Bhagavad Gita, one of the things of simple living and high thinking, there's this line I learned as a bhakta. I don't think I learned the whole verse, but the first line in the fourth chapter, there's several verses describing the state of someone who's truly advanced. Yadvicha lava santushto. You know that phrase? Yadvicha lava santushto. To be satisfied is what comes easily at the own accord. Not to dream about expanding your material powers and wealth and all these different things, and to work on that. That's mine. That's the motivation. But devotees, if you're truly Dhira and you're experiencing the bliss of Krishna consciousness, you can be satisfied with very little. I remember there was this last night. They'd seen a send me the link, a story, and I was a picture of it. from 1973, distributing pamphlets on the streets of Manhattan. So, and my even now my churches and Dodi sometimes don't match, but there was like a total mismatch, you know. And I remember I joined the ashram. I mean, at that point, I think they changed it after a while. We didn't have our own clothes. There was a collective laundry, and you went up there. This is for the brahmacharis, of course. The ladies could never do it. And you had to pick out, a kurta and a dhoti and whatever, was available. But we were chanting on the street, 4 hours a day, and then the morning and evening, big kirtan, hundreds of devotees, and there was Radha Govinda, the same Radha Govinda that's in the book temple now. Who cares? I don't care about my clothes, you shave up, that's. So how did that happen? And it wasn't like, it took months and months to get to that point. Is that if you're really seriously chanting and getting involved, you feel the higher taste, and the lower taste becomes insignificant. It's a great liberation, really. Rather than, oh, I need this, I need this, I need this, I have to go out to work so hard, to go into debt, and then you're caught. So that's the advantage of Krishna consciousness. What is that verse right in the beginning? We all know this verse, right? Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojitaha Ramyakyashu Vairajyam Yaram Chayirahojita. So this is what happens when you take up real Dharma. The Dharma, the thing Bhakti Yoga about. Even just beginning Vasudeva Bhagavati Bhakti, by engaging in Bhakti Yoga, the Vasudeva Krishna, it naturally generates quickly Vairagya and knowledge. Jnana and Vairagya Vidya. So those are invaluable. If we're not sensing that we're becoming less attracted to the material energy, we're not doing Krishna consciousness correctly. We're not chanting around with attention. We're doing something that's keeping us bound to the material world. So that purification, which is experienced directly, in your more attraction for Krishna, for hearing and chanting about Krishna, serving Krishna, and your distaste, literally distaste of engaging in material activities, that's something that no one needs, you don't have to ask someone about. That's something you experience directly. And what's the result of that? Then everything about Krishna becomes more attractive. Everything. The temple, the deities, the devotees, service, it all becomes relishable. And that's the beginning of your, really moving forward into the higher stages. So that's what Srila Prabhupada has given us, and that's what this Bhagavatam is taking us to. We're going through this section, and then, as I mentioned before, after a few chapters here, actually going into the next volume, we come to this wonderful chapter where the 4 Kumaras come down, because the Sutta was so wonderful seeing the power, of Shaktavesh. And their instructions, I think Sanat Kumar, he often takes the lead in giving instructions. It's so pertinent for us. This line I think I mentioned, I remember one should mold his life in such a way that he cannot live in peace, he or she cannot live in peace without drinking the nectar of Krishna. So when we really feel it as nectar, and we never want to stop. And then there's a verse near the end, Yat Pada Pangvita Palasa Valasa Potya, Karma Shayam Gutika Mudgati Yati Santa. These really are grunty. They're described like knots in the heart, ropes, not as tightly fitted to this world. Beginning with sex. What is it? The Shastra says, Pumsa Yan, Niba Banesan, Kayamato, Vidya Grantamahu. That when man and woman meet and there's a sex mood and they're engaged, then they tie this hard knot in the heart, which then becomes more knots, Griha, Chaita, Sutta, Apa, Vita. This is the general progression. As soon as you get into that whole gestalt, then you have to have a place, then there's apartment or a house, and then you have to have a job or a chaita, some land to farm, right? And then come children, and then come relatives, and there's fourth little thing you need to get some money, and in this way you increase your aham mameti, I am his body and things related to it in mind. And this is the heart. And that bondage keeps you coming back again and again and again. Like that. So those knots need to be cut or untied. So this verse says the devotees, the santas, the actual devotees, who are enjoying vilas, the pada panga to vilas or the last of like this. So if Krishna has lotus feet, that means that his toes are like the petals. There's pada panga to vilas, vilas is petals. So those devotees who are always relishing, serving the lotus feet, they enjoy this vilas. You know, vilas means spiritual pleasure. So the spiritual pleasure itself from serving Krishna, that's karmashayam kvatitam buddhayanti. Karmashayam is the aspiration for material things. That aspiration itself is a big knot. I don't have it yet, but I'm going to work for it, you know, so I can have what my friend and they have. This is how material energy works. Karmashayam. So Asha Pasha Shatai Bhadra in the 16th chapter, it says how those who are demons, they're Asha Pasha Shatai Bhadra, they're bound by hundreds of ropes of these aspirations for material things. Asha Pasha Shatai Bhadra. So how to untie them is described as by practicing Krishna consciousness properly so that you can taste the pleasure of serving Krishna. And that pleasure itself cuts the knots. Because that's what the attraction is. Oh, I remember how I enjoyed this way. Let me do it again. You know, this is the human beings who can remember so many different varieties. So that the detachment is produced by the intense practice of Krishna consciousness. And that's why back in the 73, you know, as soon as I get, you know, I mean, maybe from previous life, but the chanting always attracted me. You know, I had a musical background, I had a rhythmic background. Like, I never went to the Sunday, so there were so many musicians in the temple I joined. I didn't need them. But the verses, that all that rhythmic energy went into the verses. Udadi, you may know. Udadi, Udadi, the Pongam, Nabajabadi, the Oda Kapa, Yuvati, the Diet, the Pongam, Pongam, fully describing his flute emanates in trancing sounds of the coward girls whose love abounds for the pleasure of Galta, authority, dancing upon the That's the life. It's a gift by Rupa Goswami. Here, take it. You can have it, you can see it every time. Just like to come to the temple, is the temple open? Or the deities open? Then we get to see Radha Hari right now. You know? But these verses and these books and these sound vibrations are available anytime. Middle of the night, you wake up, you can chant a verse, right? So that's why the chanting of the holy name is so important. You can take it with you always, anywhere. There's no restriction, even in the bathroom. You know, there's a pastime, Gopal Guru. I think it was a little boy. Lord Chaitanya was wondering, I can't, so he was chanting some other mantra. Oh, you can chant the holy name, and even you go, you know, to the unclean place. He says, oh, especially me, the little boy, Gopal Guru, Gopal. But the point is, there are no restrictions. That's the one mantra you can chant anywhere, anytime, any place, anyone. So if we can become advanced enough and relish the holy name in such a way that we never want to stop, we're always ready to chant. You can imagine what that's like. You know? Then nothing can allure you in this world. There's two kinds of tolerance. I don't know if you ever wondered about this verse. The famous verse 2, Bhagavad Gita 2:14. Matra Spasha Sukonteya. Shitosna Sukadukada. Agamatayano Nitas Tam Sukadukada. Right? So he describes the pleasure and pain. Shita Ushna Sukha Dukada. So you say, what has to tolerate this? You know, this you have to tolerate. Tam Sukadukada Bharata. Oh, it's all the descendant of Bharat. You know, he brings that up because, hey, we're going to extend the line, so you should be able to do it. Surface argument is already at the highest level that he could be. So, but it's interesting, he says, the tolerance, if you contact the senses with the sense objects, heat and cold, pleasure and pain. They come and they go. One has to tolerate them without being disturbed. So I'm pretty good at tolerating the pleasures, no problem. Because in English, tolerance doesn't mean pain, right? If I can tolerate, this sprained ankle, you know, then I'll be able to become cured. I'll be able to, keep my wits about it. But there's also tolerance for pleasure, meaning the allurements. A devotee who's dhira, because this word came up in the previous verse about one tolerating the death of a dear relative. Really, that's what that verse is about. He's speaking to Arjuna, who needs to tolerate his dear relative getting killed or even killing him. He's not speaking there, although this can be understood in some interpretation, of the person who's dying and tolerating it. That comes later, But the idea is that we have to tolerate the death of a dear relative, even if you're self-realized, and Christian conscious. Still, the separation of dear devotees or relatives or children is going to be a pain. That you have to tolerate, even if you know that soul never dies and is going to take another. He's not present with you anymore. All the relations you have are there. So there's a real pain there. And probably dear devotees is really romantic like anything. And that's proper. But at the same time, there was a celebration because we Christian. So this tolerance is a prerequisite to getting liberation. What to speak of going back to Chicago, being a Christian. That's the next verse. Yam hinabdiyam te purusham purushashava samadukka sukham viram. Only this way it's cultivated. Getty says sukha and dukha. So those who can tolerate these things that he summarizes in the previous verse, heat, cold, pleasure, pain, and are not disturbed, they alone are eligible for eternal life liberation. So this is another measure of our, if we're advancing. If we can, the difficulties, if we're able to tolerate and continue with our service with enthusiasm, or at least doing them, showing up and doing it, and as well as the allurements, we can say no, not for me. I'm not going to try to enjoy something like that because that's out of bounds. That's sense gratification. That's the opposite of what we're trying to do. So you understand the intelligence controlling the lower. So if you can be dhira in both cases, that there's some unpleasantness comes in the course of my service, I'm going to continue to do it. And if there's some allurement that's coming that's going to impede my service, I say no. That's a basic principle of relationship. So these lessons we can take here as we're hearing about these different personalities. We got cobras and hoods. We got the poisonous animals. Everyone is getting what they need. Krishna provides, nature provides for all of us. But as devotees, we need to discriminate what we use and what we don't. This is another principle of vairagya. What's real vairagya and what's vulgar vairagya. What's yukta vairagya and vulgar vairagya. This is sort of thing in the Bhakti-rasamrita Sundar. So first he has, what is vulgar, weak vairagya. That's what that means. Really, it doesn't last. This is what the impersonalists. So, prapanchitya vidya padisambandhi vastuna mumukchubi padityago vairagyam bhaudukastate. So, prapanchitya means material. To see, having the mentality of seeing everything as material in this world, including the deity form, the holy name, prasada, everything that is even related to Krishna. Sambandhi Vastuna means those things, Vastuna, which are related to Hari. We see him as material. And Mumukchubi Parityago. Desiring mukti, not bhakti, desiring mukti, Parityago. Give it all up, to renounce it all. But this kind of vairagya, which really isn't very strong, is very strong. It's called the vairagya. Prabhupada says there's a river in India. Probably a lot of them like this, but this one actually has the name of the Pogu River, because in the rainy season there's water in there, but as soon as the rainy season is over, it dries up, and there's just a riverbed. But if you push your hand down, maybe 1 foot, you'll feel the water, the moisture. So similarly, if you look into the heart of those who are looked to be renounced, but they're actually impersonalists, there's all kinds of these latent desires, and eventually one of them comes out and they fall away. At least they come down to do mundane philanthropy work. Prabhupada explained that. And this is mentioned in the Bhagavatam, second chapter, Septana. Demigod will pray, Yen ye Ravindakshita Muktamaninas, Vayastabhavat Abhishuddha Buddhaya, Adu Hakutrena Padam Padam Sapapantyadho Anaditi. Besides the bhaktas, there are others, O Lord, who may think they think themselves liberated. The Muktamaninas in the mind only. And a very few who by great austerity can repress the senses and all those desires of the mind and rise up to Brahmabhuta, Param for them. But they eventually fall back down again because they reverse to serving the lotus feet. Without that pleasure of serving the lotus feet, they cannot remain fixed in their renunciation because the desires are still in there. They're being repressed. You see? And they have no outlet. Everything is Maya. Everything is Maya. So let me just merge into the oneness. I am that I am. How can that be satisfied? You know, we are living beings. We're persons. We have spiritual senses. We want activity. We want ananda. It's not really there. Brahmananda is misnomer. It's a very low grade ananda. Doesn't satisfy. So as devotees, we want liberation at first, and then after a while, that liberation becomes insignificant. Because you're already liberated. Liberated means you're not at all attracted to material entities. You're very attracted to thinking about serving Krishna. That's liberation. You know the famous verse from Krishna Karnamrita? Prabhu would quote. So he's with, with bhakti swahi siddhara bhagavan nidishyat jaive nanakpalati divya kishora muti mukti swayam mukadikanta visayadestan. So he says, my dear Lord, if someone is firmly fixed in your devotion, bhakti springs kedatadha bhagavan then that brings about the fruit of that bhakti. And what is the fruit? Divya Kishora Murti. The vision, the presence of your divine adolescent form. In other words, direct perception of Krishna. And as far as Mukti is concerned, she's waiting at the door over there with the Anjali Mudra. There's something about the Anjali Mudra I was training them. Waiting to serve me. That's what this means. How can I serve you? In other words, you've already got Mukti. And as far as Dharma, Artha, and Kama goes, which are the other three of the four, whatever I need in those terms of that, that'll be there. You not have to have some Kama, you have to eat something. So that'll be provided. But my intention, my desire is only to remain with your divine adolescent form. So that's where Mukti comes in. Mukti becomes the side, Iha Yasya Haridasi. If your activity, Iha, not Iha, but Iha, of what? Karmana Manasagara, your active senses, your mind, and your voice, and everything else, is engaged in serving Krishna, Haridasi, then you are Jivan Mukta. Even in this world, without leaving the world, like you're already liberated, even though you're walking on this earth. Prabhupada showed that, completely detached from any allurements and totally addicted to glorifying Krishna, serving Krishna, expanding Krishna, doing other things. That's really what it is. So I may have deviated a little bit from the Kim Purusha Loka and the mystic powers that disappear, but I think we've covered some important ground there. Any comments, questions? Yes, thumbs up. They're also, they're not monkeys, right? There's something else. I'm not sure if Hanuman belongs to the Kim Purushas. I don't think that. But it's like that. They're human-like, but they're not actually human beings. And they're planet-like. Kinnara, the same idea. Maybe, yeah, is this a human being? Not like that. Why did he allow himself to be involved in that? I'd have to look at the commentaries and how it is. But I think it's that everybody needs to have their necessities. Just like there's so many animals, there's so many insects, and you realize, okay, the scorpions, they have to have their place too, when Shiva drop a few drops from that poison, okay, it's focused there, focused. So Krishna's creation, there has to be a place for living entities with all these different mentalities. So the devotees don't begrudge that, um, but where possible, you can use these other living beings as examples. How do we use the poisonous snakes? Okay, that first. I what is it? Highball young Navakayati, the Suburakaka Society, Dudan and Kala Sarpa with the people. So the Kala Sarpa, the poisonous snakes, you don't want to encounter them in real life. But they're important because they show how the senses themselves can bite you. They can also lure you away from Krishna. So you have to be careful with them. So if you get the merciful sidelong glance of Lord Chaitanya, you're empowered, then all these things happen. One is that you have the senses still there, you're using for Krishna, but they have a poisonous thing. They can't bewilder your mind anymore and draw you away. In fact, the senses become spontaneously attracted to Krishna. Something that happens in anyone who gets into different shlokas is like there's something called muscle memory. If you're used to doing something, playing tennis or playing the clarinet, I used to play, I used to play this little thing called a recorder, which is like a flute, it's played in Renaissance music. That's how I first was introduced to music by my father. So I played even as an adolescent. I was playing. He just played with Mozart. He wrote some things to recorder. Bach stuff. I was playing it, and then I joined, and I didn't, for years and years I never played, years and years and years. But then I came across one and I picked it up. Boom, the muscle memory was still there. I didn't have to think, no, you don't think, it's already there. So the same thing is there for slokas, because you're using the tongue and the voice and all these things. And so verses I never chanted for 30 years, but somehow I come across, and the first couple of words are there, and then boom, I'll be up at the it just comes out because it's ingrained. We created it by practice. So in this way, the material energy can be used and brought into the service of Krishna. And that's what this whole movement is about. The material body just made it matter. But if it's guided by an intelligence that's been purified by hearing and chanting the Shastra, then you can use this very body like a car. A car can be useful. But don't get involved in polishing the car all day. It's called then that's foolishness, right? As soon as I heard that, I said, yes, I remember as a child, one of my friend's fathers, I'd always see him. The only time I'd see him, he'd be down in the garage area, he'd be polishing the car. Beautifully polished car. But I mean, how much time does he spend? It's a crazy mania. But that's material life. You get completely absorbed in those things which tie you to this world, which are damaging. So the Krishna consciousness means using those things. We use cars. We went to the car yesterday. We went to this program. They can be used as a service, and so they should be maintained nicely. Similarly, the car of this body should be maintained, not exaggerated, but what we need to keep it going nicely so we can serve for some of the lessons. So similarly, yeah, they're going to be demons, and if they don't get their liquor and wine and beer, then they're going to be frustrated and cause havoc. So, but, better that they're lying drunk somewhere than they're, fighting. So maybe that was the idea. Very good. Well, okay. All goes to also. So let's see. We get the Yakshas, the Rakshas, the ghosts, and the witches are getting married. What's their necessity? Everybody's getting a little.